Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Elden Ring walkthrough. Today we're going to do Stormveil Castle, the giant castle up on the hill over there. Also, real quick before it goes away, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but when the Erd tree's leaves are falling, and you see all these golden particles around us, and also now that we've used a gold pickled foul foot in the last episode, you know what that is, so you can identify its shape. Probably, hopefully, and you probably even know what the color gold looks like, kind of, unless you're severely colorblind. But under my stamina bar, you can see a gold pickled foul foot with an up arrow. That tells you that you're getting more runes right now. So that's what happens when you see all these leaves falling. I think it's 15% more runes, maybe. It's somewhere between 10 and 20, I'm pretty sure. I think. I don't know. The exact number doesn't really matter because it's not like you can just summon the leaves from the Erd tree. But anyways, that's what that is. So before we start, now that we've beaten Margit and been to Round Table Hold, Vari will have some more dialogue for us so we can talk to him. And then if he asks you a question... Wait, am I stupid? Did I already talk to him? Might be stupid. Okay, well, ignore that. Go to Margit. Alright, so Stormveil Castle. We'll pretend the video starts now. Maybe you can just talk to him after either Margit or Round Table Hold. Maybe that's what I got wrong. Anyway, there's the Grace. Down here to the right, you can grab an item. And then drop off to the left. Also, extremely sick right now, so my voice sounds weird, that's why. Trina's Lily, and then that's all that's down here, so you can go back to the main gate, Grace. And inside we've got an NPC named Gostock. So Gostock says that we should, go through this hole in the wall instead of the main gate. It doesn't matter what you say. He's not really trying to help us either way. If you talk to him again, he's just, same question, so... So the deal with Gostock is that every time you die in Stormveil Castle, you can still do the normal thing where you go back to where you died and recover your runes, but Gostock is going to be following us around and being real creepy, and he's going to steal 30% of your runes every time you die. So when you go to recover them, you'll have 30% less than you did when you died, so you can't get all of them back. If you kill Gostock in Stormveil Castle somewhere after he's taken your runes, you can get the runes back, I'm pretty sure. But I would recommend leaving him alive, and the reason for that is there's a whole long complex quest line that culminates with a new lord for Stormveil Castle, and it's 3, I think, around there NPC quest lines kind of intertwined and overlapping each other. And if you get to the end of all that, which we're of course going to cover in the walkthrough, Gostock will serve the new lord. He stays in Stormveil Castle, and if you talk to him at that point in the game, he'll give you an ancient dragon smithing stone, which if you were unaware, I do mention it in one of my other videos about how weapon mechanics work, but there are only 13 of those in the game, and it's the item that you need to get a weapon to its very last upgrade level. So for standard weapons, they go up to plus 25, like this Uchi Katana, for instance, that I'm using. So to get your weapon from plus 24 to plus 25 and actually max it out, you will need an Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone. Since there's only 13 in the game, that means you can only actually max out 13 regular weapons. There's a separate pool of somber Ancient Dragon Smithing Stones for maxing out any unique weapons, I don't know, I don't want to point to a non-unique weapon and look stupid. I'm going to do it anyway. Bloodhound's Fang, I'm pretty sure that's a unique weapon. Or this. Pretty sure those take somber smithing stones. But anyway, there's only 8 of the somber ancient dragon smithing stones in the game. So if you get every single one of them, which we'll do in the walkthrough once again, but they're all, like, a lot of them are locked behind long quest lines, so they're easy to miss if you're not following a walkthrough, that is. And you can, if you get all of them, you can only max out 8 unique weapons and 13 standard weapons. So I would recommend, especially if you're new and haven't experienced a lot of the weapons at what they feel like with a proper build that like complements them and what they feel like at max level, I would recommend trying to get all of the upgrade materials you can to max out as many weapons as you can, just to see what they're like. But that's that. I'm gonna leave him alive. I feel like I heavily implied it, but just to be explicitly clear, if you kill him, you cannot get that ancient dragon smithing stone later, so. If we jump up here, couple smithing stone 2s, and then you can just drop, there's a eagle right there. If you have a ranged weapon, a bow or something, you can take him out. We can drop down here and get this grace. I did the thing again where I forgot that I have a bow. Also, to that same point, don't carry around a bunch of runes, because if you do die, you lose a bunch of them, so I should probably level up. Alright, so now if we backtrack a bit, these birds are really annoying. If you have ranged options, I would highly recommend just like trying to pick these guys off before they see you. You can always go with guard counters there, but a lot of their attacks are like really... They move around a lot, so sometimes it's kind of hard to hit them after you get the guard counter, or after the block, rather. Dude, I'm fucking Legolas, dude. Look at these shots. Oh my god. I might not be Legolas. I'm not Aragorn either. I'm just a fucking loser. Alright, we got him. And then around the corner to the left, there's an item. Some bolts. Might be worth upgrading that bow, honestly, just to deal with these guys, but we'll make it work. There's 3 birds up here. You approach somewhat slowly like I did. You can try to take them out one at a time. That worked out very nicely for me. Smithing stone 3, and then we can loop back around to where that grace was. Alright, so the other mechanic to be aware of with Gostock, I told you he follows you around and steals your runes, but he actually, like, you can see him following you around. So there's going to be 4 different triggers. You can sneak up on this guy if you're not distracted like I was and prevent him from calling the other guys over, but I didn't do that, obviously. Yeah, there's gonna be 4 different triggers of like walk past an area and then backtrack, and you'll be able to find Gostock following you. And this is going to be the first one here in a second. I have the golden rune 2, and then in here where these 2 guys are sitting down, this is going to be the first trigger. So if we go back outside, you can see him. There's a little light source at the bottom of this tower. So what you want to do is ignore him. If you catch him following you and you go talk to him, he'll give you an item called a Grace Mimic. It's just like a random consumable item. It's nothing special. But if you catch him, you won't see him spawn in at his subsequent locations, which quest line wise is fine. But as far as just like, hey, this is a cool detail that they put in the game, just ignore him until one of his later locations so you can see all the places he pops up. But if you mess this up and he's not appearing at certain locations, it doesn't matter at all. It's not going to affect whether or not you can get that smithing stone at the end of the game. But to elaborate on that a little bit, like I said, there's 4 locations, and you want to ignore him at the first 2. The third one, you can talk to him. The third one's like the most obvious, the most like, you know, it's kind of hard to accidentally find him here. You know, this is one of those things, it's like, how did someone figure that out? There's no reason to backtrack after you kill these 2 guys, and we're not that far from a grace, so chances are you didn't really need to heal. But the, what was I gonna say? I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, the third location is a lot closer to like where the trigger is to spawn him in, so that one you're safe to talk to him at. But he will not show up at the 4th location or the 2nd location for that matter if you talk to him. So gonna bait these guys and destroying the barrels for us. Some throwing daggers back here. Same thing up ahead. Get this guy to blow up the barrels. Then we're good to move forward. Take this guy out and then you can drop down. There's going to be another golden rune here. Alright, and then in here, when you open this, actually first of all, I'll go ahead and equip a light source because it's really dark in there, but Gostock is going to lock the door behind us after a cutscene plays. And we're stuck in here. You can hear him laughing outside, and we're stuck in here with a banished knight. Gotcha. Get the rusty key. And the curved sword talisman from the chest. Alright, and then after that, we can drop down over here to this door. Lock that with the rusty key. And then don't go left first, go right. Watch out for this gap here, jump across. Take out that guy. And take out that guy. Grab the fire grease. And then, whoops, I missed it. I want to jump across here. How did you miss me? It would have been a cool time to demonstrate that you could get a guard counter off of an arrow, but somehow he missed. Alright, and then grab the brick hammer and drop down to where we were earlier. So now that we got the rusty key, I think the trigger is both getting that and climbing this ladder behind the door we just unlocked. So like up on this top floor, we just killed those 2 guys that were just like sitting down originally and trying to throw throwing pots. Getting up there, I believe, is the trigger for Gostock to appear in the second location, but when you drop down by this door, you can see him now standing a lot closer, being creepy as ever. So that's location 2 out of 4 right there. Again, if you talk to him at the first location, he is not going to appear there. Now we can go left to the top. There'll be a guy around the corner. And another one up here. The silver pickled foulfoot. So that's going to do the same thing as the, or work the same way rather, as the gold pickled foulfoot. But instead of boosting your rune acquisition, that one boosts your item discovery temporarily. Grab some mushrooms there and then you can walk upstairs. Alright, and then if you want to crouch right here and there's going to be a banished knight inside, sometimes these guys can be a little tough because they have like this wind attack that'll stun you really easily. So they can almost guarantee a follow-up hit. So you can either wait for him to come over here and then turn around and get a backstab, or you can wait for his patrol to get far away, his like, wait for him to walk far away, and you can just walk up the staircase next to him. And there's a Grace upstairs. See what I'm saying? It's easy to get caught in that combo. So yeah, Grace right up there if you need it, but real quick, very optional. You can drop down over here. Get these Arteria leaves that are in the window, and I just realized I forgot the other thing that was in the window downstairs somewhere. It was like 10 arrows, I think. There they are. Oops. Can jump up from right there. 10 St. Trina's arrows. And then just make your way back up to where we just were. I really like the legacy dungeons in this game because it's like, you know, if you didn't really want an open world Dark Souls game, basically these are just like really well thought out kind of classic Dark Souls levels. Alright, so here's that Grace I was talking about. Rampart Tower. We'll be coming back to that many times, so don't forget about it. Jump across here, and again, draw a string fire grease. Alright, and then this is going to be the third location for Gostock. So after you reach this Grace, you can come out here, and there's 3 birds we have to worry about. 1, 2, 3. And these ones are going to try to throw an exploding barrel at you. And unless you just like one-shot them before their first attack, they're going to get away with that. So just make sure you're not standing next to any other barrels that could start a chain reaction. You could also shoot, actually I have fire arrows, so I can just show you. You can shoot these barrels with a fire arrow, and it'll blow up. So that's another much easier way to deal with these guys. But guard counters still reign supreme. So around the point that you get, I don't know exactly what the trigger is. The whole Gostock thing is weird. I like to just like step foot onto this little platform here and then run back. That always works for me. And then he will be over here. So this location you can talk to him at. This is the one I was saying, like, this is a little more realistic to accidentally find, I feel like, because he's right next to that Grace. Maybe you like went out, died to the birds, and decided to go this way instead.
Oh, you forgot. Well, can't just. Oh, it's.
Alright, exhausted his dialogue. Now we can go upstairs. Try to pull this guy around the corner because there's an archer across the way. Can hop up on the wheel to get across. And then follow this hallway around to the other side. And then if you quickly duck over here to the right, just kidding, he's gone. Okay, that's weird. There's usually a guy there. You kill him, and you make this like weird kind of diagonal jump. So you can get this guy right before he blows that horn and alerts that guy, that guy, that guy, and that guy, because that's no fun. Genuinely, if you've been watching all the episodes, you might remember that time in one of the like tunnels. There was an enemy. I was like, he's gonna be around this corner, and he wasn't, and I was losing my mind. And then I rested a grace, reset the area, and he was there that time. So I guess something weird just happened. But yeah, kill that guy, and then run over here. Jump up on this sandbag, and then you can't go straight up, so you have to make like a weird sideways jump over to the wood. That's how you do that. Now we can kill this guy. And the other three. There he is. Why are you over here? How did it take me that long to see you? Alright, jump across this. And drop down for a stone sword key. Alright, and then this is like a super bird. This is, it's gonna have like the same annoying moves that the other birds have, but it can also breathe fire. So try to get a dropping attack and soften it up. Nasty combo right there. Just so hard to hit sometimes. Some Stormhawk feathers from him. And the dozing cross-legged gesture. I also want to point out, so as far as making arrows goes, you have your like regular arrows, and then you can craft arrows. But the crafted ones are made out of bones, right? And you get the bones from like killing animals, or you can just buy them now that we got the bell bearing from the bell bearing hunter last time. So if you trade that in with the Twin Maiden Husk at Round Table Hold, you can buy bones. Anyway, you can also add feathers that you get from like any birds called flight pinions. You can see there in the recipe, and that fletches the arrows, so you get bone arrow fletched, and that just makes them have more range. But the Stormhawk feathers are like an extra, like higher level of fletching. And what that does, if you put those on, is make, I think they're just called like Stormhawk arrows, honestly, but they do like extra poise damage, so it's easier to stagger enemies with those. Pretty nice, but also kind of a pain to farm because you have to get specifically those Stormhawks that we've been fighting, which are no fun at all to fight. A couple Smithing Stone 2s there. Make your way back around, and then you can climb up this broken pillar. There's one guy sleeping over here, and there's 3 guys up to the left, so let's deal with him and get around the corner. Get the melee guy to come over to us, that'd be nice. Cool. Alright, and then up the ladder. Up here, if you have a nice wide sweeping attack, would be a nice place to get some flight pinions for free. You have like 1 second to do it though, so. Get the claw talisman though, that one's really nice. In fact, I might put that on honestly, because I am a jumping attack enjoyer. Enhances jump attacks. Alright, so Stormveil Castle, you're going to realize very soon here, has a lot of routes that you can take. So the way I've sort of planned out this route is to minimize backtracking as much as I realistically can. Maybe there's a more optimal way to do it, I'm sure there probably is, but like there's so many ways that you can go in this place, so this is just the route that I picked out that works for me. If you die, then you know you're gonna be teleporting back to wherever the last checkpoint was for you. So if you're dying a lot, these routes might make a little less sense, but as far as attempting to do this all in one go without dying, this is the route I've come up with. So inevitably we are going to be doing a little bit of backtracking here and there. But eventually we will get everything, so nothing to worry about. Alright, so you can take those guys out, and then across the way there will be a couple more enemies. So you can jump up here and take or loot that for the Nomadic Warriors Cookbook 10, and this is like one of those places where the path splits a lot. So obviously we had to like drop down from a ledge over there, so we can't backtrack exactly the way we came. You could hop over here across this roof, and there's like a grace over there and a whole courtyard full of enemies down there. And then there's also this path over here. This way there's just 2 normal guards down there, and then there's a little bridge, and there's like 2 banished knights that you have to fight at the same time, which is kind of a pain. But we can actually kind of sneak up behind them later through another route and get the items that are down there without having to really fight anybody, so I'm going to opt for that. Because otherwise, if you go that route, it's like a long... You're in for the long haul. It's going to take a while before you get to another grace, so... We're going to do it this way. Drop down here, Somber Smithing Stone 2. Pop a stone sword key into the statue. Alright, we get the Misericord, which is, first of all, probably said it wrong, so we'll just address those allegations immediately. But this has a really high critical stat, so if you look at that center column underneath the attack power section at the bottom, it says critical. For most weapons, it's going to say 100, and this is referring to how strong your crits are after like a backstab or after you parry or something. And this dagger happens to have 140 for critical, so it's kind of nice to have around as like an offhand thing if you're planning to get lots of crits, or you can swap to it after you get a parry or something. But then we also got a shield and the Iron Whetblade, and the Iron Whetblade is going to allow us to really start customizing our weapons, if you're going for melee at least. I went way past it here. It's key items, I think. Yes. Okay, so like... Never mind, let me just demonstrate that at a grace, it'll make more sense. So, put a pin in that thought. This guy, we don't love them. So, I'm just gonna sit here and wait for it to turn around again. And while we're waiting for that enemy to pass by, surprising no one, I forgot to explain the thing I was going to explain once we got back to a Grace. So let's do that real quick. So if you go to Ashes of War at any Grace, and then select any of your weapons, you'll notice that as you scroll through the Ashes of War that you've collected so far, it's going to change the name of your weapons. So if you look above the center column on the screen, I have an Uchigatana +6. If I hover over Ground Slam, it turns into a heavy Uchigatana. Down here, these are going to make it keen. These are going to make it quality, magic, sacred, blood. You get the idea. So without the Iron Wet Blade, if you were to pick one of these, you could either go with the sort of built-in affinity. So for Ground Slam, that's going to be heavy. For these ones, it's going to be keen. You can either pick its built-in affinity, or you could go with Standard. Standard is going to maintain the default scaling on your weapon. So right now my Uchigatana has D scaling with strength and C scaling with dexterity, but if I made it into a heavy Uchigatana, it's going to increase the strength scaling significantly up to a B, and it's going to eliminate all of the dexterity scaling. Now that we've picked up the Iron Wet Blade, what we can do is we can pick between Standard, whatever the built-in affinity is, or heavy, keen, and quality. So these are bad examples because they have heavy, keen, and quality built into them already. But if I take the magic one, for instance, normally, before we picked up that Wet Blade, we would be able to equip the Standard affinity to not change its scaling, or change it to magic affinity because magic is sort of built into this Ash of War that we have selected. But now we can also choose to give it quality, keen, or heavy affinity. So whichever one of those is going to change the scaling for you to give you the most damage overall, that's probably the one that you want to pick. I feel like it saw me. It thinks it saw me, but it didn't see me. Whatever. Just make a dash over to this doorway to the right. It still didn't actually come after me. Okay. Come after me. I think it's just bugging out right now. You can hit this elevator here, and it'll give us a shortcut back to the Rampart Tower Grace right there. I don't really need to rest, so I'm just going to take this back down. Actually, I probably should have rested to reset the Scion. It's fine. Definitely sees me. Alright, there's 2 dogs in here. It just hit me through the wall, hell yeah. So if you recall back to the beginning of Rodrika's questline, she wants us to come to Stormveil Castle to get something called the Chrysalids Memento. This is where it would be, but if you progressed your questline like we did and kind of skipped the Chrysalids Memento part, then the Crimson Hood will just be here. If you didn't do that and the Chrysalids Memento is here, you want to bring it back to Rodrika, trade it to her, she should give you a golden seed, and then you can come back here and get the Crimson Hood. So that's how that works. Now, optionally, you can kill this guy. I'm just going to take advantage of the fact that it's not paying attention right now. Staunching Boluses right there, and then an axe over there. I don't know why I just like stopped to think about that. That was dumb. I'm just gonna give it a try, why not? They're so annoying. I'm stuck on him. Nice. Lead OP. So like 1700 runes, I think that said. So otherwise, your course of action is just to sneak past it, and it is possible to do if, you know, it's not like bugging and trying to hit you through the wall. Otherwise, you can also just run past it and come straight up here. Show you the route that we're going to take either way. I actually usually like to bait this guy back down the stairs to not risk alerting the knight in the next room, but I don't think he heard me, so we're good. Yeah, he's walking away. So yeah, you got those 2 guards right there, and then there's like 3 peasants down here. So obviously you can run by these guys pretty easily, and the only item down here is this exalted flesh, so not a huge deal if you run past that. If the scion is chasing you, just run straight up here. And he's not going to be able to follow you into this room, so I'll wait for this guy to turn around and get a backstab. Then you can crack open this chest. Get the Mimic's Veil. I forgot to mention also with that Crimson Hood, I think you have to like exhaust her dialogue and Hugh's dialogue at Round Table Hold and make sure she's a spirit tuner before that shows up. I'm fairly certain. Chances are you did that anyways, so it's not really a big deal, but just wanted to throw that out there. Anyway, out here, this guy seems to have heard us through the wall as well. Everyone is cheating. Gold Pickled Foulfoot, and that axe that I was just like getting brain fog over for some reason. The Highland Axe, it's got a special quality where it enhances roar attacks. So you combine that if you're like doing roars for your build, some of the dragon attacks, you can combine that with this as well. Enhances roars and breath attacks. Nice little synergy there. Make your way to the end of the walkway, and there's a ladder here. And then you can drop down. Miss that guy. It's imperative that you miss him. Just kidding. Alright, and then through here, be an archer to the left. Some pickled turtlenecks, stone sword key, and then over here was a locked door that we passed by earlier, where I was like showing you how to run past the grafted scion. This room here, can only open it from that side, so we just make our way back the way we came. Instead of hopping over that wall, we can just run right past it. Couple golden rune 2s. Alright, so we'll see if this works. This is Gaustok's 4th location. This is the one I always have the most trouble with. So there's 2 ways you can approach it. Either this route that we've been on right now, and he's going to spawn up on the roof of the chapel eventually, so you can either come this way or the other route where all the birds with the exploding barrels were. Deal with these guys. That was too early. Okay. So, yeah, like I said, the trigger on this one is just a little bit weird. So what we're going to try is climbing up this ladder and then going back down. And then we want to backtrack all the way to the grafted scion room. Just the upstairs, we don't have to go all the way back down to where we fought him, but this will work. He was down here. So that paints room, we got the axe. So I come to that balcony there, and then we backtrack again. And cross our fingers that he shows up. And he is up there. So I guess that does work. Well, I knew that could work. What I was saying is it doesn't always work for me. So the other option you have is the Rampart Tower Grace is just up there right above me where I'm jumping. So you can spawn there, and then this bridge up here is where those birds are. So you can just, well, we'll climb up here and I'll show you, I guess. So if you deal with all those birds, then you can come down the staircase here, hop onto the roof, wrap around here, and then you'll still, if you come from that side, you still will have to like follow that route we just took and backtrack to that balcony over where the Grafted Scion was. And then when you come back, he should be here. So you can talk to him now. Should be the same dialogue no matter where you find him at the first, second, or fourth location, which this is. Gives you the Grace Mimic, and that is that. So now what we can do is we can drop down here. And then through the window, we meet Sorcerer Roger.
I'm looking when I'm not hot enough about this place. It's not exactly a... I see. You can see. Well,
Doesn't matter what you tell him.
still, I'm privy. Would you care to learn as a fellow Tom?
And then you can buy a couple of Ashes of War from him. They're all pretty cheap. If you are interested in these, again, I would buy them sooner rather than later, but you do still have some time. He'll move back to Round Table Hold and you can get them there. So, actually I missed something. I shouldn't have dropped down from the roof just yet. So if you climb back up here, should be one more corpse here, the Golden Rune 2. And then, I think, oh, the birds are still dead. Alright, perfect. Pop a fire arrow back here. There's a bird waiting around the corner if you don't have a fire arrow, so just be aware of that. And Smithing Stone 2. So now I am going to go... Let me think. Could warp back to the Rampart Tower, but since we're right here, I'm just going to walk and not reset all the enemies. Basically, we want to make our way back to the top of the tower, or up to the roof, where that one guy was that I said was missing, and then turns out he was just like standing in the wrong place. Super easy walk if everything's still dead, but this is very much doable to just run through if everything has respawned in your world. But you want to make your way over here to where we dropped down before. And again. And now we can jump across this rooftop I pointed out earlier. Sneak when I get down here. Bunch of mushrooms in the corner. Then should be able to grab this and just walk by those two enemies there. No problem. Someone saw us. Couple Smithing Stone 1s. Okay. I hit entirely the wrong button. And we'll grab this Grace inside here. Alright, so now that we have that, for an upcoming enemy, I'm gonna have you warp back to Round Table Hold if you don't have a seal to cast incantations yet. If you do have a seal, you can skip this step. But we're going to reach deep into my bag of tricks for this one. So go to purchase and then get the finger seal. It doesn't matter if you don't have enough faith. It costs 10 faith. I don't have that. It's all good. And then actually we can just warp back to lift side chamber. This will come in handy in just a second. Trust the process. Call this elevator down. Can I level up again? I have a lot of runes. Yes. More health, why not? Never hurts. Alright, so out here you can start sneaking as soon as you go through that doorway. Drop onto the teardrop scarab. Get the Ash of War Stormcaller, and then you can just run straight across and get another grace just to be safe. And there's the boss fight right there, so could do it right now if we wanted to, but more stuff to see. More loot to get, more importantly. Alright, gonna have to get some blood on our hands here, unfortunately. Take out these cracked pots, or not cracked pots, these living jars. Because they are guarding cracked pots. Where did he go? There you are. I saw like a blur, but I didn't see that he got behind me. So violent when they die. Alright, so you get a cracked pot there, and a cracked pot there. 2 more for our collection. Loot that guy, and then you can jump up to this ledge here, and wrap around to this other ledge. Alright, kind of up to you what you want to go for first. I'm just going to soften up this guy and then regret leaving the eagle at full health. Oh, it's not paying attention. Literally the best possible case scenario. Some lumps of flesh, some... Oh, he dropped one of his swords. Yeah, the blades that they have strapped to their feet, you can actually get from them. If you are lucky. Up here, some smithing stone 2s. It's getting kind of dark out here. That didn't help at all. Golden rune, smithing stone. And we'll just exterminate some more of these peasant guys in here. Because who's gonna stop us? Get the Manor Tower Shield. Don't sense any more movement. Alright, then out here we got a message from Roger. Surely what you seek is somewhere close by. Smithing Stone 3. I love the views, dude. That's where we started the game at. Absolutely crazy. That's... I don't think I can tell you what that is yet. So I have to keep playing. It might be a spoiler. Alright, carefully hop up onto this wall. Golden Rune 5. rainbow stones, and then make sure you come over here to the left before you drop down anywhere. And open the shortcut back to the lift side chamber. Just gonna rest, why not? Something really obnoxious coming up. Actually, want to do this either way. So, equip the Poison Mist incantation. Takes 12 faith, which I still don't have. I didn't have 10. I definitely don't have 12. But we can get around that with this silly little, what's it called? Wondrous Physic mix that we have. So, if you slot one of these into the Faith Not Crystal tier, it's going to temporarily boost your faith level by 5 levels. So I think it's 5. Let me double check that. We're at 8. If it's only 3, we're gonna have a problem. 18. Alright, it's not 5. I was completely wrong. It is 10. That's way better. Anyway, I'm gonna reset and refill that. But that is going to allow us to use that seal that we just bought and the Poison Mist incantation. So, very cool. We got a few bats to deal with out here. Terria leaf there. Totally fine to just let these guys... Oh, I'm out of arrows, but not fire arrows. Sorry, bud. Alright. Totally fine to just let them fall, and you can fight them with melee down here, but... Got the bow, so I'm gonna use it. Up across this gap. A couple more smithing stone 2s, and then you can just make your way all the way to the bottom. Golden rune, and there's gonna be some rats up ahead. And the big one should join the fray. If we walk closer. Some poison balloons, and then kill this teardrop scare before it runs away. Maybe. Come on. There we go. Get the Rancor Call sorcery. Now for the problem. So, once we drop down this pit, you can see there's a bunch of items to loot. We're going to ignore them and just run straight to as far back as we can, really. This enemy is called an ulcerated tree spirit, and we don't like them. They're terrible. So, we're going to cheese them. It's a horribly designed enemy, and it just gets worse the smaller the space you have to fight it in, so... This one is pretty bad, in my opinion. So the music's gone, and I don't really hear it thrashing around, so I think that's really all we have to stay for. So now, I would also recommend, while it's passive, crafting some fire pots, because it is pretty weak to fire. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit it with a poison mist. Poison mist is a really nice thing for cheesing certain enemies in the game, because it does not attract their attention. So if you can sneak up on them and cast it, it's going to take a while, so I should probably get the show on the road while I explain it. Let me equip seal. Drink this, make sure you're sneaking. You have to get kind of close to him. So yeah, it's not going to alert an enemy. So if you can successfully sneak up on an enemy, you can cast Poison Mist, and even when it procs and starts hurting them, they are not going to be alerted to your presence there. So the amount of time that the Faith Not Crystal tier buff lasts should give you comfortably enough time to get 2 poison mists off. If I remember right, this does like close to 1,000 damage. Might depend on your faith level, I guess. Probably does. I don't know. I don't use it very often except for like these really niche cases. But you just want to pay attention to the damage counter, and as soon as it stops, you want to go in and cast Poison Mist again. Maybe you could get 3 of these off if you're really quick. I don't think so though, but you can definitely get 2 very, very easily. So, and you can just keep doing it for as long as you want, as long as you still have some FP to spare and the like actually have the 12 faith required to hold both the seal and the Poison Mist incantation. So I'm going to get a little closer since this is probably going to wear out fairly soon. And then we crafted those fire pots as well because I do not have the faith level to just continuously cheese it with the poison. So I'm going to have to deal with the second half of its health bar the old-fashioned way. Fire pot should come in handy for that. Alright, 910 is what I got out of that. Proc it again, and we wait. Now, I am like 90% sure I'm not going to be able to get a third one off, especially since I kind of had that delay in the middle where I was waiting to see exactly how much damage it would do. So I'm just going to start fighting it because that poison is going to keep ticking down anyway. But if I equip those fire pots, also you really want to, it does do some holy damage with a couple of its attacks, so you could put this on just for safe measure. Haldrake Talisman, that is what it's called, right? Yes, boosts holy damage negation. And then let's get to work. So, if you recall my advice for fighting the dragons, I think being able to see its head is really nice because you can kind of read its movements a lot easier. Get away from that when it starts glowing. And the same thing kind of applies here. The closer you are to it, the worse your camera situation is going to be. And it's going to be harder to tell what it's doing because its whole body just like violently writhes around. That's a grab attack, by the way, when it charges you with its mouth open. Don't want to get hit by that. So if you can fight it like kind of far away like I am and see, I just feel like it's easier to read its movements, but I also understand that you do kind of have to just get close to it to actually hit it. So it comes with practice. You stay far away and you figure out what moves it has in its arsenal. All of them are basically the same thing, just like really wide swings and writhing around and just throwing its body at you. But once you have a good feel for what kind of attacks it has in its arsenal, then you can move in a little closer and, get some melee attacks off. But it's a nightmare, and if it kills you a bunch of times, I'm sorry, there's not much you can do about that because it sucks. It has definitely killed me many, many times in my life, so... Anyway, grab all those items, you get a golden seed from killing it. The Prince of Death's pustule here, and then this thing is just an absolute freakish monster. There's a ton of really cool lore behind it. I would recommend maybe not looking it up until you finish the game at least once, probably, just to avoid spoilers. But this thing's crazy. And then you can interact with the bloodstain over here. See Roger. Watch him just die. So that is actually the animation that plays when you get inflicted with the Death Blight status effects. All these like thorny roots come out of the ground and impale you like that. Kind of lift you off the ground while they do it. So that's what happened to our old friend there. R.I.P. Deathblight really doesn't happen very often in this game, but it is very jarring when it does happen. And then we can warp back to the Rampart Tower Grace if you'd like, but I like to climb this ladder just to show off, like, this is just A1 level design. The fact that this massive ladder from the depths of hell wraps back around to an area we've been to already is really cool to me. So this is where we dropped off from the roof originally, and then there's the grafted scion in this room. You got this elevator back to the Grace. It's well done. Hats off to... compliments to the chef. Go with that one. Anyway, gonna go ahead and rest up at... we can get rid of all this stuff too. Don't need that. Put my regular talisman back on. Rest up, get rid of poison mist, because I'm not going to be using that for some time. And then back out here to deal with the birds again. Deal with them we shall. Do we thread the needle? Oh yeah. Alright, so where that one was sitting, you can hop over the ledge, drop down. Then onto this narrow ledge here. And again. The marred wooden shield. So now that you've been down there and saw Mr. Deathblight himself, you start to notice all the like thorns roots around the castle a lot more. Kind of like put two and two together. The shield that we just picked up has them all over it. The enemies that hold this shield also have like these thorned roots coming out of them. It's a cool detail. Alright, and then somewhere here, drop down onto this rock and it's going to break. Alright, hopefully he also gets stuck here for you, because if you keep going forward, there's a Crucible Knight. Trying to get a Teardrop Scarab while a Crucible Knight's attacking you is not an ideal scenario, so... I'm gonna throw on my parrying shield for this one. This one, funny enough, should be much easier than the one we fought in Limgrave. I mean, it's the exact same fight, but it's gonna take significantly less, parries. Actually, I want to try that dagger. I really thought to do this. Hit him for like 279, I think. So, not better. But, to be fair, it is comparable, which is kind of saying a lot, because that thing is unupgraded and my katana's at like +6, so... they're on the same upgrade level, that would have been a much harder crit. Alright, so he'll give you the Aspect of the Crucible Horns incantation. You can get the Somber Smithing Stone 2 right there. And then once again, back to back, cool examples of the intricate level design of Stormveil Castle. Is there like a flower back here I'm forgetting? I feel like there is. Yes. The locations of like a few very random flowers are just burned into my memory for some reason. But yeah, this giant elevator shaft that we've crossed paths with several times and have not been able to actually use the elevator, it was this one. This will take us all the way back up to the Rampart Tower Grace once again. So cool. Alright, so now we can go back to this side chamber. And we can actually start clearing out this area. Where's that dog at? Okay, so I'm going to summon, because there's just a ton of enemies in this area. Shield. High risk, high reward, just the way I like it. Oh nice, drop the Omen Cleaver. Very cool. Okay, in here, quickly grab this and then run back outside, otherwise your summons might despawn. They are not looking so good right now. But yeah, not much to say about this courtyard, just a bunch of like pretty fodder enemies. They don't really all rush you at the same time, they're kind of just all posted up on these flamethrower cannon things, so pretty hard to get completely overwhelmed, especially if you summon. Just pick up all the items you see along the way, obviously. A bunch of them have had glowing eyes. Should be a big one up here. Got some more fire arrows, nice. I actually needed those. And if you try to leave the courtyard in any capacity, the wolves will, or just whatever summon you have, will start to despawn, so you can't use them to help clear out down there, or any of these other directions for that matter, so that is going to be the extent of their usefulness for us right now. Grab this one last item, wooden great shield. Now, we can come over this way. This is like, we're kind of at the point where it doesn't really matter what order you do any of these things, just whatever works for you. There'll be lots of backtracking and just backtracking, really. I couldn't think of another word to describe it. Rush this guy. How did that miss? Alright, cool. And if you double back to the left, more smithing stones. Then this room to the right, we meet another new NPC, Nefeli Lu. So make sure you exhaust her dialogue.
If you I ask you call the winds run I'm certain apology as fellow down whatever.
Alright, cool. More smithing stones. Golden seed and flower. You can duck into this alley over here. For, I don't remember. What if it was more smithing stones? It is. Alright. Safe bet. Okay, so we want to lure this troll back over to where that omen was and just that general courtyard full of enemies. So you can kill the enemies here if you want. Or just ignore them. He'll probably kill them, actually. That should do it. Oh, one more. Oh well. Continue on. I guess don't get so far away that he roars like that. And then we want him to attack this glowing statue. Perfect. Never mind, he missed. There we go. So we'll break that open when we get the items inside, and then you could go to really anywhere you want right now and just like reset this troll. There's a grace nearby right up the stairs. There's a grace right behind where he spawned that we also picked up earlier. I'm just gonna go ahead and kill him. But if you're low on healing, then you can also always reset. Alright. Bunch more smithing stones from inside the statue. Who would have guessed? Alright, so now, once again, right behind where the troll spawned is the boss fight, so good to do that whenever, but there's still like one little corner of Stormveil we haven't hit yet, so let's go clean that up. If you did rest to reset the troll and all of these enemies are back, what I would recommend doing is warping to Rampart Tower and then going down, not the big elevator, but the small one that takes you to, not the big elevator that takes you back down to where we fought Crucible Knight, but the small one that takes you down to that doorway right there. It'll take you down the Grafted Scion room that we're standing in right now, and then you can come out here and there's the courtyard. So I feel like that's a much better way to get back without having to fight so many enemies or run past so many enemies. But there's some arrows or something stupid over here. It was in fact arrows. Alright, and then outside in the courtyard once again, come downstairs. I'm getting bullied by rats. Alright, so once they're dead, there should be an item, yes. Fireproof wow. Fireproof dried liver. It's that easy. Use the stone sword key to open that up, search the chests, get the Godslayer's seal, and the Godskin prayer book. So, probably goes without saying, but the Godslayer's seal is going to boost the incantations that you find inside that prayer book. Now that we're out here, you can actually come up this ladder, and this is the other route I alluded to earlier in the video, where we could kind of sneak up behind some banished knights and avoid fighting them, but still get all the loot. There they are. So if you kept going that way, killed these guys, crossed that bridge, there would be another ladder up to the left, and that would take us back up to where we like jumped over to the rooftop that was overlooking the courtyard with all the enemies and the omen and the dog. So I find that this route to be a bit easier, so that's why we did it that way. Now here you can drop down and we're just going to start taking out all these guys on the ballistas. If you did try to go through the main gate earlier as in like right when we started Stormveil Castle and Gostock told us to go the other way, then you might have noticed that there was just hell raining down upon you from a bunch of ballistas, and these were the guys making that happen, so there's your revenge if you needed it. Alright, and then through here, there's gonna be another grace. Unless you're like literally 1 HP, absolutely no way of healing, and are afraid that you're just gonna get clipped by a random enemy outside, I would recommend not resting at it. You can still activate it, but we don't want to respawn all those guys in the ballistas that we just killed, because then they're going to shoot at us. We don't want that. Also try not to fall down. That's where we met Gostok before. I guess it doesn't really matter since we killed all the ballistas. Fall down if you want to. But grab these items that were on the other side of the gate. And then we kind of want to hug the right over here. Take these guys out if they do spot you. But you can avoid all those guys if you just hug the right like I told you to do, and then you just want to sprint through this doorway and not get picked off by the lion. Easier said than done, but still pretty easy to do. And nothing can follow you all the way back here, so you are good. Now we can rest at the Grace, Limgrave Tower Bridge Grace to be exact. And then I should probably level up in case I die here, but it's fine. Now we deal with the lion. You can summon here if you want. Like that ship has sailed. I was gonna do it, but it took too long. So this guy's kind of like fighting the bears, I feel like, but instead of like just throwing himself at you constantly like the bears do, he does do that a little bit, but he tends to favor any attack with that bladed arm. So like, really just imagine you're fighting a guy with a big sword and just keep rolling through the sword. His is quicker like bite attacks and swipes with his offhand. They're a little bit more problematic, but anything with his main blade is pretty telegraphed, I feel like, so don't get too intimidated by all the acrobatics. Get a somber smithing stone, beast blood, a couple old fangs, and then once again hug the right wall. You should be able to literally just sneak right behind these guys. And then now we want to be a little bit quick. You're good for right now, but just be ready to be quick. Jump across there, avoiding the ballistas hopefully. Sometimes they clip you, that's alright. They're probably not going to one-shot you. When they land, they explode though, so you're not in the clear even if you miss the initial shot. Get the arbalest there, and then now this is a little hit or miss. You might have to go out there and get your hands dirty, but usually if you just hang out for a little bit, they will eventually stop trying to attack you. You can see that the guy on the ballista up there isn't interested in me anymore. Sometimes to wiggle around a little bit, and now I can open my map and teleport away. So we'll go to the secluded cell. And that is probably going to do it for this episode. That's really all there is to Stormveil Castle. Next time we have the main boss, but I'll save that for a separate video. So yeah, got a lot done today. I really like Stormveil Castle, so hopefully you enjoyed that too. Hopefully that episode was helpful, maybe learned something new, maybe not, I don't know. But I will see you in the next video, where hopefully I am less sick and my throat is not on fire. We'll see what happens. Catch you next time.